this conversation, looking at how we accelerate mining, because we understand that that is an imperative, that is something that has to be done if we're going to meet our goals, but we have to make sure that we do it in a just way, and obviously technology is going to help us to get there. So Ibrahim, if I can begin with you, Saudi Arabia's role in this process.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. SNAD, since it's established in mid-2021 as being the arm of the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources, had two important things. One is being the vision and strategy, and one is being the services or mandate that we had to do. When it comes to the vision, it's the one that's been cascaded from the national strategy of the mining resources in the kingdom, where we have to really add value to the sector through several services and provide really what's called an attractive environment for the investors. The second one, which is I think is very important, is making sure that we have our eyes on the goals, the economical goals of the mining sector. As you know, the minerals resources sit at the fourth pillars of our economy as per the 2030 vision. With that in mind, there was several mandate to ISNAD, which are really supporting the sectors and enhancing the sectors in all aspects. Starting with the important one, and which is really promoting the investor journey from A to Z since the time that he applies for the license or the way he closed the license. And also the second one, which is basically what you call the compliance. The compliance comes into three aspects. One is the compliance on the right of lands, making sure that the land has been utilized, and not legally, of course, not illegally. And also another compliance called the financial compliance, which, as we mentioned, that the financial compliance is important to achieve the economical goal of the sector itself. Last but not least, for sure, is environment, health, and safety, that we have an eye and focus on it. And since we mentioned that, I think ISNAD is looking globally to sustainability as a big mandate, not only from just an inspection with the health and safety and environment, but also with making the right impact into the social and economic around it. All this in mind, and all those services, they are backed really and helped and supported by digital transformation. We have built and developed Ta'deen and Ta'deen 2. I think these are very important ones and necessary, because, as I said before, they are very important to make and facilitate the journey of the investor from A to Z, since he starts all the way to end. That's pretty much somewhat what we do.
Abdullah, there is no question that the rapidity and the rate at which we have to see transformation in mining, i.e. growth, producing more at a faster rate in order for us to meet our global targets in terms of the environment and use of fossil fuels, has a real impact on how organizations do business. In your view, what is the impact? How is it changing how things work, and how, even from an extraction perspective, there is some serious considerations to be made? Things can't take as long as they used to.
Great. First of all, let me welcome all of those people whom they came outside from KSA to join us here in this future forum, and they make it real successful forum. Back again to your question, when we look for the mining, there is a certain challenges really facing the miner are facing it. First of all, timing, costs, and efficiency. Now I'll take you back 20 to 15 years before, when we sit in our home, where we have a good number of equipment, the computer standing alone, then the TV, then the library, and the phone, and the calculators. And we used to spend the money and spend the time to switch any of them on the right time. Now, the technology is really evolving and changing all of this to make our life easier. And this now is everything, where we can communicate, we can see, we can translate, we can read, we can do everything from the phone or the smartphone. Now, when we bring this to the mining sector, I think we should look for the success which has been made by the other sector, oil and gas, and petrochemicals, the technology themselves, where they further excel their performance and they further achieve a good, let me say, level of efficiency. Now, the mining sector really the technology is really evolving, and it is really helping a lot to shift or to make the change or to have a positive impact. Now, when we are start seeing some small, let me say, smart mining, where people, they utilize the automotive cars, where it is smart or smart cars or tools also even there. And at the same time, they are utilizing the technology to help them to be faster in extracting, in processing, in shifting or delivering. We should make sure that we are engaging with the technology in order to help us to move and to compete, because the demand is huge, and we need to make sure that this 10 to 15 years time taking place to bring the mine in operation, can we make it 5 years? Can we make it more efficient? Because the demand is really huge, and this transition toward the clean energy is really demanding a lot of work to do in order to make things are available for this transition.
Jun, Huawei's role in assisting transformation in a mining context, what is it?
I think few things. As information and a communication company, over the last 30 years, we have accumulated many technologies, built up a very strong, technology or research capabilities. I think when we look at the mining industry from few areas, one is we mentioned how to apply those technologies, information technologies, to improve productivities, right? For the last 30 years, for example, in China, I think the productivity has been improved tens or even hundreds of times because of leveraging automations, large equipment. I think it's run its course. So now the information technology and the communication technology become very important for the second phase kind of a productivity improvement. Others, I think, is improve safeties from different angles, right? The technology can be applied, for example, autonomous driving, remote operations, remote drilling, blasting. I think take people from the harms away. So that is actually really improve on the safety areas. And others, like, we work with many mining companies to improve on data analytics, right? For example, the geodata, how we can fast mining those data, get the insight from those data. I think that's become very critical. It's become something that is very difficult for the mining or the geo companies to do. They need help from Huawei. I think that's how we look at our role as a technology company. We want to enable the ecosystem, enable the miners, equipment manufacturers to be an important partner with them. I think that's Every mining company I talk to these days, many of them, so if not all, they all want to become technology companies. I think that gives us a lot of opportunity to work with them, right? Yeah.
Miko, there's no doubt that everything has to happen at the same time. But we also know that in reality, nothing really happens at exactly the same time when you're trying to manage process and transformation, particularly within organizations. From your perspective, how do we begin to prioritize what needs to be done in dealing with this transformation?
FLSmidth as a company is a full flow sheet supplier for the process plant or concentrator plant, as somebody might call it. And because we are providing everything what is needed in the processing of copper, gold, and all the key commodities, we try to look at the whole flow sheet and try to understand, focusing on the research and development on things that really matters for the miners. And we picked up few focus points for the development that will benefit our customers. One is the comminution circuit, which is crushing and grinding. It's using so much electricity. And there we focused on developing high-pressure grinding technology and new version so that you can reduce energy consumption. And for the mining companies, that's a big thing because comminution circuit is the biggest use of energy. It's almost like a small city in itself. And having a technology there that can reduce energy consumption 15-20%, it really matters. And when you look at the whole flow sheet of the miners, there's another important point is the recovery. Because in mining you are digging, transporting, crushing, grinding a lot. And then you have recovery. And if you can improve the recovery by 1%, 2%, 3%, it makes a whole lot of difference for the mining company. So we've been focusing in our research and development for how miners can reduce energy consumption in the process plant, especially in the comminution circuit. Secondly, how you can improve the recovery, for example, in flotation. And if you can improve recovery of the valuable metals by 3% with a flotation cell, it has a significant impact on the miners. So we used our expertise of understanding the mining process to focus technology development where it really matters, and also in a way that it's easy to deploy for the customers. Yeah. Because sometimes you spend lots of time of developing some small things that in the bigger scheme are not so important. So we try to kind of be really focused in our technology development and that we can bring to our customers.
Tailings. Nick, if we can talk about those. We won't go into too much details about how people might feel about them, because we know that's a challenging question. But I think the reality of the matter is that it's a result of mining, so we have to deal with them. What's interesting about your organization, obviously, is how do we make sure that not only do you maximize them in terms of what you are able to extract, but also dealing with them in a way that allows a better environmental or reduced environmental negative impact. When one is thinking about technology involvement, to what extent do you feel that there needs to be a different discussion, if at all, around dealing with the result of what we do? So oftentimes when we talk about mining, we're thinking about what do we do when we dig? What do we do when people are in the ground? But sometimes there's less thought about the end product of what is left behind.
Absolutely. So with this industry, it's one of the most important industries on the planet, but people often forget about how challenging it is to actually do what we all do here day to day. And tailings are a result of oftentimes moving as fast as we possibly can to get to the end result, which is the ore coming out of the ground and selling to the end product, right? The challenge is that if we actually want to hit all of our targets with this electrified future, maximizing the actual output of neodymium metal or nickel or copper or cobalt, whatever it might be, we really do have to rethink actually how we do this from the very beginning. And I think technology plays a very key part because no, you're not going to take traditional processes that are geared for large particle sizes and homogeneous mixtures and shift it to the small particle sizes and heterogeneous mixtures that you see in normal tailings deposits. But it also comes with a business model mindset. The fact is, I think everyone here and many people across the world really just accept the fact that tailings just have to exist. At Phoenix, that's one of our key concepts, is we don't agree with that. We believe that in the future, now not now, of course, there's a long way to go, but there is a world where we do not have tailings. And I think that as an industry, we have to really shift our mindset about how that approaches from the very early stages of when you build the mine in the first place, and at the later stages when you're looking to close it down, is that tailings really shouldn't be an accepted reality. We have to really challenge that status quo and rise up as an industry to say, hey, look, let's maximize the actual output here, but also preserve the earth, because we are one of the most important industries on the planet. And without us, none of those incredible technology innovations that occur in the electric vehicle sector, defense sectors, or energy sectors across the board will occur. And it's up to us to actually solve these problems and encourage that growth.
Donald, Nick is making it quite clear that there needs to be an almost wholesale rethink about how we mine. How do we do wholesale rethink in this context?
So if you want to minimize emissions, to me, this means get rid of the CO2, and that means switch to electric and electric tools in every way possible. But when you think about emissions from mining, people think about the mine site, but if you do a comprehensive analysis of emissions, you have to include things like the shipping of the ore to the processing sites and so on. If I wanted to get bold and imaginative, I would say, what about vertical integration all the way into the metal smelting? I mean, why mine iron ore in the Western Australia and ship it halfway around the world? Why not put the smelter right there and make it an electric smelter, so that we already have with Boston Metal the carbon-free electrolytic production of iron from iron ore directly. No coke ovens, no blast furnace, no pelletizing plant, and so on. And if you replicate that, if you made copper at the copper mine, and the copper was mined in a carbon-free fashion, then you would see a precipitous drop in emissions, but also with the elimination of so many unit operations. I mean, I just saw, people talking about, well, if you want it green, you have to be prepared to pay a premium for it. I don't believe that. I believe that you should be able to invent something that's better than legacy processing, give us a superior product at a competitive price point. And that's a chance to your point to me, is to really hit the reset button with a sledgehammer, not just a little gesture.
In real terms, how do we do that?
Innovation. You got to make the investment. And it's
So
not...
it's going to cost money, either way.
Well, people are spending money right now for improvements, and I'm saying instead of spending money on incremental improvements, what about spending money on a wholesale reset? And you won't succeed if you don't try for it. If radical innovation is going to be shunned because there's a chance that it may fail, then that means we won't try.
Miko, that is an interesting proposition because, again, the push here, the reason we're all gathered here once a year and having these conversations is that we don't have another 200 years to figure this out. We've got a couple of decades. So there's a particular drive which, to Donald's point, suggests a radical change is required. There is the question of what happens already, the systems and processes that already exist, versus the need for us to do things differently, faster, quicker, in order to hit the target. Where is the middle ground? How do we find that middle ground?
No, I think the middle ground is that taking into use the innovations that has been already done, because mining is a conservative industry. It's conservative because of the places mining is done, typically far away from cities, in very difficult environment, dry, hot, cold. It's very difficult environments usually. And typically that makes the operators quite conservative. You don't want to try out, pilot new technologies in those places, because if anything fails, the cost is very high and difficult to fix. But I think we can do much more already deploying technologies where they already exist, what I said about optimizing the flow sheet. There are lots of choices if you look at all what you have and make decisions based on that one, how to optimize it. You can actually get great benefits even today with today's technology. One thing I would like to go back is what we discussed about tailings. There's a lots of old mining sites, 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, and in many parts of the world, ore grades are becoming less, means that you need to process more to get the end product out. But some of these old tailings actually has higher grade of valuable metals than actually in your mine site today. So there's a lot more and more reprocessing of the past waste rock and reprocessing that and getting valuables out of that. So that is also important development for instance, for the mine sites who has been operating for a long time. And if you have new mine site, it's of course different ball game because you can deploy new technologies right from the start. And for example, looking at Saudi Arabia, I think there are so great opportunities here. If you look at phosphate, if you look at gold, you can deploy the latest technologies because there's so much new investment going into Saudi Arabia, into mining. In some other countries, you are more dealing with the brownfield and then upgrading the operations, changing the process much harder. But I think in that sense, Saudi Arabia is a unique position because there's so much new investment and you can deploy the latest and greatest of technology.
Ibrahim, on Miko's point and Donald's point, this rethinking that has to happen, in many instances we're seeing it here in Saudi Arabia, how you are looking at doing exactly what the gentlemen are suggesting, looking at technology to find those solutions. Because one, Saudi Arabia is big, the geological questions, you need to find the 2.5 trillion worth of minerals under the ground, et cetera, you need the technology. How are you going about thinking about it for now and making sure that you're able to continue to innovate so that you can keep up with what you're trying to achieve just yourselves?
That's an excellent question. See, we believe to stand at the forefront of digital transformation, you need to adapt several solutions, digital solutions for it. The way we see it, especially in ISNAD, we are covering it through three main aspects. One is being that in order to excel in your services, you need really to make sure that all the activities of the mineral are digitally integrated. What does that mean? It means three basic things. First of all, that we do have in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, thanks God, a lot of platforms that it is in our interest to integrate with them. For example, Invest in Saudi by Ministry of Invest, Dalil by NIDLIB and others. I think this is really make our services better. Second is that also, sorry for the word, I always say devil in the detail. And what really makes mining activities successful is the data actually. So we really have an aim at ISNAD to make sure that we are or consider to be a local and central base for data from two aspects again. Data that is really comprehensive and data that's really also cleansed and clean. And as such, we have several sources of data, like for example, historical data from the Ministry of Industry and Minerals. We have the data that are coming from GIS, from NGD, and others. So I think this is really it's very important for us that we make use of them and to combine them together. Furthermore, of course, there are other entities in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that we really need to value and utilize their support. Like, for example, the National Center for Environmental Compliance. And those are very, very, very important agencies that we need to cooperate with them. These are basically we're talking about from the approaches. Also, we need to adapt really what we call technology-driven approaches, like what the gentleman mentioned. using robotics, intelligence, artificial intelligence. Those are really, really important. One of the important things also that we concentrate is that we use simulation and remote sensing. And those, they involve drones and satellite imaging and all these. In a nutshell, the way that I believe is that we need really to make sure that we put an eye and focus and strike the balance between the economical growth and the impact on the environment.
Abdullah, if we can get more specific from a Saudi Geological Survey perspective, a tremendous opportunity for use of technology to figure out what's under the ground. And then, of course, how do we get it out of the ground in a more sustainable way, deal with the tailings, etc. So you sitting in a position where you can begin to create things anew because of the drive that you have here and the need to extract quickly. What are some of the processes that you are looking at employing and potentially deploying in Saudi Arabia to make this process better from a volume perspective, but dealing with some of the environmental and ESG imperatives as well, so that you have a more sustainable business and industry here?
Great. Let me first reflect in my colleague here, where we say yes. Thing is really moving toward utilizing the technology, and we cannot work without the technology. And the technology helping us, honestly, to utilize all the data which is really available. Now, when we look for our old way of dealing with the thing, we might utilize 20 to 30% of those data, and the other we are missing it. But now, when we utilize the technology, we can go 100% to utilize whatever we really want. Now, when we came back to your point, see, when you need to do things in a faster and better way, you should first at all realize what data do you have and how you can digitize all of those data in a manner that it will be accessible and easy to collect it. And then you utilize the AI, artificial intelligence, the latest technology, which is now available everywhere, to help you in collecting all of those information in the right time and process them effectively. One of the most important thing, which is about the people, and the people, they are the important part of doing all of this, and we have to make sure that we are really investing in the people, and we educate the people, and we bring them to the right level where they can help in bringing all of this, collecting all of this information, utilizing the data, bringing the technology, grouping them, sending them to the right place. And this is the most really important part. And at the same time, you need to have something in let me say, diversitizing the knowledge of the people, where you can have a good mix of the people whom they can utilize the technology and bringing it to the right level. In shortage, when I would like to summarize, I would say that you invest in the data, bring them to a digitalized level, utilize the latest technology, and invest in the people to make life easier and faster.
June, I'm going to give the last question to you, and I'm going to ask you to be really brief, because effectively we're out of time already. But I'm going to ask you to be really, really brief. If you said that there were 2 quick wins that one can get out of the technological space, and granted you're from Huawei, but I think technology, obviously, we can appreciate extends beyond that. What do you think those 2 wins would be?
I think specific to the mining industry, I think one thing is definitely, as we said, how to analyzing and getting insight from the amount of massive amount of data. That's I think is a quick win for us. Second is artificial intelligence. Apply artificial intelligence into every aspect of the production, operation, from exploration to design to production, refinery. I think that's another important, very disruptive technology that is going to, I think happen in the next 10, 20 years.
I think what I really enjoy about this conversation and this panel is this notion of trying to think differently and innovatively and looking at what those solutions may be to, one, dealing with existing problems and making us better for the future. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. That was an absolute pleasure. If you can please thank them for me, I would appreciate that.
Thank you.